Hello everybody, Jacob Kackelhofer here, just bringing you a video log of what I like to call light and noise initiatives in the Demand Hovindication campaign. Before I get too far into this video, I'd like to clear the air on a slight mistake I made in my video of last night. On this site here, freekenthovind.com, I had mistakenly attributed the excellent work that went into it exclusively to my friends Rudy and Aaron Davis. When they saw the video that I had made, they were quick to let me know that they're not the ones that actually started and built the site. They merely contribute to it, and it's actually a friend of theirs that has done the majority of the hard work on this. So just wanted to set the record straight on that. Moving on, tonight we're going to focus on following up on just one of those specific things we talked about that you can do if you want to help Doc Hovind's cause. And what we're going to do here is we're going to, starting on the home page, we're going to go to the Help Free Kent calls, or tab, I'm sorry. I love how on the site here they have all these verses that are very, very appropriate to the situation. Here at the top we can see Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me. And I think that's a very good note to begin the video on. Now, underneath here you can see how they have put up a lot of contact information for prominent players involved in the Hovind case. The public defender's phone number and email address is on here. The prosecutor, Michelle Heldemeyer's contact information is up here. And not the least of which is the contact information for the Jezebel judge herself, Margaret Casey Rogers. So we're going to explore the potential for that a little bit and have a little bit of fun with that. What I'm going to do in this video is call this number and leave a message on her answering machine. My goal here is not to engage her in a one-on-one discussion. I'm not particularly averse to that. Many of us aren't. It kind of depends on your personality, I suppose. But I don't really think it will be the most conducive to our goals in our activism here because for one thing, they could just hang up on you, and probably will once you got talking for any amount of time about what's going on. So instead, what I want to do is leave a message on her answering machine that she will hear that is intended to rebuke her and take her to task for her loathsome role she is playing in this whole travesty. And hopefully, maybe even rattle her and her staff a little bit as they undertake their evil mission. So we'll get started on that in a moment. But I would also encourage any of you that are willing to follow through on this to put a little bit of thought into what you want to say, do a little bit of advanced preparation. What that would entail will vary depending on the person. If you are gifted with a greater endowment for brevity than I am, you probably are, because that's not one of my strong suits, it may well represent a lot less work for you. For me personally, in this instance, it's represented a good couple of hours of preparation, part of which is nobody's fault but my own. The initial work actually took a lot less time, but in what I came up with once I did sit down and think out what I wanted to say and write it out on my computer wound up being quite a bit longer than what would fit onto the time allotment on Judge Casey Rogers' answering machine. Those of you that have had much interaction with me in the past probably aren't too terribly shocked about that. So after a few sessions of trial and error, I've had to condense it down considerably. As a result of that, I will probably post the original transcript in its entirety as an open letter to Casey Rogers, because I was pretty pleased overall with what I came out with, and there was a lot of good stuff. I feel that is going to have to be left out of this message out of necessity. So stay tuned for that. I'll be trying to post that soon. But without further ado, we will move on to the actual call. One more reason to put a little bit of thought and preparation ahead of time into what you say, if you're going to follow through on this, is in consideration of the very prudent reminder that the folks that run this site put up themselves, which they say right here, right above the information: important, do not do something irresponsible like make threats, condone violence, or anything unbiblical. So probably very good advice there. And in the interest of that, and in the interest of just the best possible representation of my own testimony, I put all this effort into it beforehand as well. So once again, in my case, this resulted in a couple hours of prep time. For you, it may result in a lot less, though, especially if you're more concise and to the point than I am. So we're going to move on with the call now. I am going to call this number, so bear with me a moment while I bring that up. I'm going to put it on speakerphone here so you can kind of hear what's going on. I don't know how well my mic will pick that up, so sorry if it doesn't, but you'll hear the good parts at least. This is my transcript I prepared ahead of time in Microsoft Word. You can see all the strike-throughs I've done. This is how much I've had to reduce it down.
You've reached the chambers of Chief Judge Casey Rogers of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Florida. We're not available to take your call at this time, but if you care to leave a message, we will return your call just as quickly as possible. Thank you. Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hello, Judge Rogers. My name is Jacob Tyler. I have observed much of your work in office over a period of time and have been greatly disappointed to see how you have repeatedly demonstrated a strong prejudice against Christians in both your rhetoric and your rulings, both in the past and up to the present. The most dramatic example of this being your more recent involvement in the prosecution of Dr. Kent Hovind, who languishes in the American Gulag currently, being treated worse than a common criminal with your full blessing and approval as I speak. Miss Rogers, I hope you realize that it is well known and well established that in the Kent Hovind trial resulting in the shameful and draconian theft of 8 years of this man's life, under the most absurd and deplorable conditions, you referred to his quote-unquote crime as worse than rape and his ministry as a criminal organization, and I quote. This was but one aspect of your unacceptable, unbecoming, and un-American behavior during these proceedings. It is also well known that you have endeavored to hide evidence of your outrageous behavior in the Hovind case. Your efforts have, however, been to no avail. Truth will always be brought to light, no matter how obscured by the darkness, and crushed to earth it will always rise again. I will leave it to you to ponder where you stand in that irreversible and timeless trend. Your patently absurd refusal to recuse yourself in lieu of the shameful degree of bias you have demonstrated and continue to demonstrate is very revealing of the fact that where Dr. Hovind is concerned, you have no interest in truth and justice and equity, and that conversely your actions are motivated by some sort of deep-rooted malice and hatred for this man. Your recent granting of motions in limine to disallow the mere mention of jury nullification in this trial and the IRS's own recent admissions of misconduct as pertains to application of structuring laws, not to mention the highly questionable ethicality in allowing the IRS witness a place at the prosecutor's table, is even further evidence of this. In so doing, you have besmirched the noble office you occupy and made a mockery of the principles of Anglo-Saxon jurisprudence you claim to stand for. Make no mistake, madam, your dishonorable conduct is fully known by many and is certainly known by God. I would remind you that the scriptures you scoff at inform us that the eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good, in Proverbs 15, verse 3. Those same scriptures postulate In Psalm 94, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frame mischief by a law? We are further warned, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, in Isaiah 5:20. Finally, I would remind you, Madam Judge, that your very heart is controlled by the God you revile and spit upon, which you can see for yourself in Proverbs 21. The king's heart is in the hands of the Lord, it reads, as the rivers of water he turneth it whithersoever he will. You would be prudent to ask yourself that, if this is true, then how much more so does it apply to a judge of men? Do not mistake your lack of empathy and conviction in this case for righteous resolve, because we also read in the Bible of how God himself hardened the heart of the Pharaoh of Egypt, who, by the way, sought to keep his people in bondage, so severely that he threw his own army into the very heart of the Red Sea in the insane pursuit of the people he was oppressing, only to see them swallowed by it in an instant. Once again, I will leave it to you to ponder exactly how you align with the players in that great drama of antiquity. Miss Rogers, my sincere admonition to you is to seek the Lord while he may yet be found. Repent of your egregious misconduct, your hatred of your neighbor, and the willful part you have played in the flagrant and brazen persecution of a man who has been a malefactor of none and a benefactor of many. If you want to make a name for yourself and secure for yourself a meaningful place on the right side of history, do so by being the first judge in our time to recognize that you are on the wrong side of it and realize the error of your ways and act on principle rather than pejorative. While I'm a strong believer that miracles do indeed happen, read the story of Saul on the road to Damascus found in the book of Acts if you want to know more on that, and that it is indeed possible that my words to you today could potentially compel you to repent, reconcile, recuse, and reform yourself, I strongly suspect you'll find a little more in this than a good belly laugh. But in either case, I have stated my own, and we shall see who in the fullness of time makes history and who joins the ash heap of it.
You are approaching the maximum length for a recording. Finish your recording after the tone. To send this message, press pound or hang up. To play it, 3. To re-record it, 4. To add to it, 5. To discard it, 6.
And
Your message has been sent. If you would like to try an extension, you may do so now.
okay, that's that. The message has been sent. Maybe that'll rattle her a little bit. Maybe she will just get a good belly laugh out of it. But either way, that sure was fun and vindicating for my part. And it's a good endeavor to make. Well worth your time. A big point in doing all of this is just holding these people accountable. The point isn't whether or not they respond to what you say. The point is the mere act of raising a stink about it, of shining that light and making that noise. So there you have it. There's a call to Judge Casey Rogers. You don't necessarily have to take the tone that I took. I went for one of righteous indignance. There's a variety of approaches you can take, and I would recommend just trying out what you're most comfortable with, because your own confidence in what you're doing is pretty essential to how effectively you say what you've got to say. But give it a try, and I hope you have benefited from seeing this video. I thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time.